there, my name is Kelly Dell with offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. Thanks so much for your purchase of this rainbow stacked earring project. I absolutely love these earrings. They are some of my favorites I think I have ever created for Valentine's Day. So to get started, you're going to need multiple colors of a size 11 Delica bead. So for my friend Amy, who is very like black everything, you can see here I have done 3 colors on this one. So you can do 2 colors, you can do 3 colors, or if you're rainbows and sunshine like me, you can do the 4 colors like this. Now, I have made these into earrings, but you could also do this as a bracelet if you wanted to go all the way around. My advice to you is if you're going to do this, it's a bracelet. I personally have too tight of a tension to be able to do this because, I mean, look, this it doesn't budge. It's not moving. But if you use a little bit of a thinner thread, it will loosen up your stitch a little bit so that it will be a little more bendable, and this would be a beautiful bracelet to wear as well. So you're going to need multiple colors of a size 11 Delica bead. You're going to need 12 to 14, let's see, 16, 12 to 16 size 15 seed beads. You're going to need 2 wire protectors, your ear wires, your favorite beading thread, does not matter, and a size 12 beading needle. Now, this video goes best with your pattern, so if you look at your pattern, you should have a word chart and a bead chart for this 4 heart one. At the end of your pattern, I have also put in the pattern for a 3 chart one like this if you wanted to do the 3. It's really simple. Once you get the hang of it, you'll be good to go. So let's go ahead, get our needles threaded with 2 yards of thread, and grab your pattern so we can get started. If you look on page 2 of your pattern, you will see the bead chart for the earring or pendant, whatever you want to do with it. We're going to start down here on the bottom with the simple start method, and we're going to start with these 2 rows. So we start at the bottom, and then we're going to work our way up to the very top. The thing that is going to be different is if you look here on page 3 is I've actually made you a word chart as well. And you will notice on the word chart, again, we are starting at the bottom and you are going to work your way to the top. Your biggest thing that you will notice here is that I have also given you instructions on if you are doing increasing or decreasing rows for each one of those rows. So grab one of your charts, whichever one you're most happy with, and let's start. All right, so when we start the project, and we are starting with our easy start method, we are going to start out with our bottom color of Delica, and we are going to be threading 3 of those beads on. I'm going to bring these down, and then I'm going to pass down through the first bead I added. So we're not coming around to make a circle. We are passing right back down through the first bead that we threaded on. So when you pull this and you pull it all the way through, you're going to have a T shape like this. So thread and working thread are both coming out of the bottom of your piece. We're going to thread on 1D, which is my bottom color, and we're going to go up through the nearest top bead here. All right, and now we are going to thread on 1 of our D's, and we are going to pass down through the closest bottom D. So once we complete that, then this is row 1 and 2 of your project. So technically, we could take the needle and we could come up through these 2 beads right here and start. But what we need to do is we actually want to reinforce this just a little bit, since this is just a small little strip. So I'm just passing up and down through those beads so that I can get to this point right here. So that's rows 1 and 2 complete. Row 3 says that we are going to do 4D. Now this is an increasing row. So I pick up 2 Ds to start. And when we do an increase, we go under the first thread bridge. And the thread bridge is just the thread between the beads there that are connecting them. We go under that first thread bridge, and then we pass up through the first bead that we added. This should be the bead right above where your thread is exiting. So already on this row, we now have 2 beads. We pick up a D and pass our needle under the next thread bridge. And then take your needle and pass up through the bead that we just added. You notice I keep my fingers on these, and this is just to help keep the tension tight as we work. So now pick up one last D for the row, and you notice we don't have any more thread bridges here to be able to continue. So we have to increase. So to increase, we pick up our 1 bead, and you're going to wiggle the needle under the same thread bridge that you just went under to add this 3rd bead. So we pull, kind of lay that in place, and we go up through the bead that we just added. So that completes row 4 and takes us to row 5. So row 5 is worked the same way. It's an increasing row. We're going to add 5 total Ds. So in our increasing row, to start, we pick up 2 beads, and we go under that first thread bridge there. And then we pass up through the bead right above where our thread is exiting. Thread on 1D, go under the next thread bridge, thread on 1D, go under the next thread bridge, and lastly, we have 4, but we have to have 5 beads for the row. So we pick up 1 D, and when it's our increase, we are going to go under the previous thread bridge, straighten that bead out. If it's not straight, straighten it out, and then go up through the bead that you just added. So this is row 4 with our 5 Ds on it. So you're going to continue your increasing brick stitch until you get to row 12. Row 12 will be your, or no, I'm sorry, row 11. That will be your last increase row. Once you've completed rows 1 through 12, this is what your piece will look like. Now I threaded a needle onto the short tail thread and ran the thread up through here, and you can see where I have just a little tiny piece where I trimmed that off. So that way it gets it out of the way and you don't have to worry about it. So row 12 starts our decreasing brick stitch. And you have to pay attention because we're going to throw in a new color of Delica on this row as well. So to work a decreasing brick stitch, I am picking up 2 of my Ds. I skip the first thread bridge and go under the second thread bridge. So instead of going under the first one, we go under the second bridge when we do decreasing brick stitch. Just like normal, we're going to go up through the bead right above where the thread is exiting. And sometimes, very few times, they are going to sit like this. Normally, they're going to sit kind of wonky and catty-cornered to each other. So even though this is sitting correctly, I'm going to show you how we fix that. So we go down through the first bead, and when I go down through the first bead, I hold it in place and I pull the thread straight in a downward position the way it's coming out of the bead. Then I take the needle and pass up through the first bead that I started with. And again, I pull it straight up so that way we have a nice straight bead to work with. So I'll continue working down the row. At this point, I'm only going to be putting in one bead at a time. And as you work the row, when you get to the end, you will not have an additional bead you have to add on. When you go under this last thread bridge, that's the last bead for your row. Once you finish row 12, you will see that now we have a little indentation at the beginning and a little indentation at the end, because this is where we're doing a little bit of a decrease. So row 13 is a decreasing row as well. And we start out that same way. We're going to pick up 2 beads. We're going to skip the first thread bridge and go under the second thread bridge. Pass up through the bead right above where the thread is exiting. I'm going to put my finger there just to help pull it tight. You can see there how they're sitting diagonal to each other. So we go down through the first bead and then up through the second bead. And when you pull, make sure you pull that thread straight up so they will straighten up for you. And then you're just going to continue to work your row, one bead with each stitch until you come to the end of this row. At this point, you now know how to do increasing brick stitch and decreasing brick stitch. So you are going to continue to follow either your word or your bead chart until you complete, I believe it is row 36. Once you complete row 36, then we will be doing something a little bit different. So go ahead and complete that and I'll be back with you. Once you complete row 36, your piece should hopefully look like this. And you'll notice I have stopped with the 5 beads that I've added here. So my 5A beads. Because what we're going to do, instead of continuing with the row, we are going to work this part of the heart and then stitch around to do this side of the heart. So we go ahead and complete row 37, which is 4A. So this is a decreasing row. So from where I'm at, I'm just going to continue on the rows. So I'm not continuing down through here, just on what I have complete. So this is a decrease row of 4 beads. Okay, and then the next row, which is row 38, is 3 beads, and it's a decreasing row as well. And this will be our last row on this side. That's 1, 2, and now 3. So once I have this third bead in place, then I'm going to take my needle and pass down through the beads so that I'm exiting out of this end bead right there. So you'll see now that my thread is exiting here at the very end. So now I am just going to work steps 39, 40, and 41, or those 3 rows on this side so that it will resemble this side. Once 39, 40, and 41 in those rows are complete, hopefully you will have a piece that looks like this. And then we are ready to add our bail so that we can have our earrings. So if you'll notice here on this sample, I have used 4 15s my wire protector in 4/15s. Whoop. On this small pair here, I have used 3 beads in my wire protector. So you can do either one. It works out about the same either way. One just hangs just a little smidge longer than the other. I'm going to do 4 just so that it matches my other pair there. So I'm going to thread on 4 of the 15s that have gotten scattered. So 4 15s, and then I'm going to use my wire protector. So I'm going to take the needle and I am going to come up one side of the wire protector, and then I'm going to take the needle and pass it down through the other side of the wire protector, just like this, making sure the thread goes in the little channel there. And I'm going to pull that all the way down. Now, you'll notice here that that thread has popped out. The reason that's popped out is because when I pulled it, this is open, just a tiny little sliver. So if you pass it through, or if you pull it through too hard, it can pop right through. So you want to be careful of that as you work. Once you get some more thread in there, it does not do that as bad. But it's got a seam in there, and sometimes that seam can pull it tight and pull it out. So then I'm going to pick up my same amount. I'm going to do 4 15s. And you see I started right here. So I'm going to come directly opposite, so right over here. And I'm going to come down through this bead, so that now it looks like this. So at this point, what I'm going to do is pass through the beads so that I can turn around and then reinforce that bail once more. So I go down through a bead, up through a bead, and look, I pulled that really tightly and it popped out. So what that tells me is that that is just going to continue to kind of do this. So at this point, I'll pull this out and I will change that wire protector. And then once I get that done, I'm going to go ahead and reinforce and all of that good stuff and be finished with the earring. The biggest thing, you try to make it work. If it will not work, then just change it. I mean, don't keep fighting with it. See, it pulled right off. So I'm not going to continue to fight with it. I'm just going to pull this off, and I'm going to use a different wire protector so that I can finish out the top. Now, before we finish up for the day, I do want to show you one more thing. So for a lot of people, their piece may be flimsy due to the tension that you use on your pieces. I have a very, very tight tension, so mine always are really stiff. But I do want to show you how you can fix that if they are not very stiff, because what happens, and these earrings be a good example to kind of talk to you through. So with earrings like this, if your top is not really nice and firm, what happens when you wear them is they fold in like this, and you don't want those hard edges kind of folding in. So there is a great product on the market called Diamond Glaze, and it is a water-based dimensional adhesive. Okay, this is really, really great to help as a stiffening agent because it dries clear. But if you use it as a stiffening agent, you need to make sure that you take it and you dilute the product. So if I'm going to use, say, 1 ounce, and this is just an example, 1 ounce of this to 1 ounce of water. So in a cup, I have taken and I have mixed up equal amounts of the water and the Diamond Glaze. And when you do that, it turns into like this it looks like milk. It looks like leche. It looks like milk. So what we want to do now is we want to pour this onto a disposable plate, pour some into it so that we can dip our piece. So let me show you how to do that. All right, so I'm going to take what I have in my cup and I'm going to pour this here into the plate. Now, step 1, test your beads. So the 2 beads that I am most worried about is the galvanized semi-frosted magenta. So I'm going to drop one of those in there. and I am going to drop this DB 2510, which is kind of like one of those perma finish colors. And I'm going to drop those in there, leave them in for just a second, and then pull them out here to the center. And I don't see any color running off of those beads or anything like that. So I'm super happy with the finish of that. So I'm just going to slide that out of the way. I'm going to kind of tilt my plate to where a majority of it is down here at the bottom. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece, I'm going to submerge it and then pull it out. And then I'm going to take this, knock some of the excess off, and then I'm just going to set this down on a paper towel. I'm going to blot it to kind of get some of the excess off of the surface, and then I'm just going to let this dry. And what this will do once they're completely dry is this will have worked as my stiffening agent. Now, when you get done, if they are not as stiff as you would like them to be, you can reapply and you do the same thing. But again, I'm just blotting off some of that excess on the surface, and then it's just a matter of letting those dry and attaching your ear hooks. So friends, I hope you enjoyed learning how to make these rainbow stacked heart earrings. I absolutely adore them, and I cannot wait to see the pieces and colors that you guys make with them. So again, thank you so much. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.